Do it.
Do it.
Welcome to the Austin Otaku Podcast, hosted by Jesse McDonald and Keith Good.
Welcome back to the Austin Otaku Podcast, everyone. My name is Jesse McDonald, and joined yet again by the redneck enigma, Keith Good. Keith, how are you doing?
I'm doing yeehaw. I'm getting her.
I'm really proud of Redneck Enigma, by the
way. It is I should note that I am not at all like I was as a kid. We had a horse ranch when I was growing up deep in the mountains of North Carolina. I was chewing tobacco by the time I was 6 years old. So
as one does.
I'm not even kidding you there. So I had my cowboy boots, chewing tobacco. And then at one point I got bucked off of a horse. I swallowed my chewing tobacco and I never touched the stuff again. So
I feel like it was almost like that scene in the Sandlot where they all chewing tobacco.
Yeah. I was on a big league chew. I was the worst. It was terrible.
Oh man! So absolutely doing well. How about yourself? I don't know what I should call you since you're from Mississippi. I mean,
I'm truly the redneck enigma.
You are the succeeder right there.
Yeah.
You're succeeding.
I got out. I stayed out before they tried to get out. Good God. They're such an embarrassment. I hate saying I'm from there.
Yes, but hey, look where you are today. And you're on this wonderful podcast. You're working for IBM. It's fantastic. Indeed. And I should say, before we get started on our episode today, listeners should, if they want to, subscribe to us on any of the podcast platforms, rate us and comment, and that will greatly help us tremendously.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
I hate to do that self-promotional stuff. I will say this, though. I did put together, and will probably release this weekend, a Tell Me Something Good page on our website.
Ooh,
with links to most of the available stuff that's on Amazon that we can link to. A lot of the stuff that has been recommended has, it's like obscure, and you got to go find a collector or something, Not really.
Maybe we can get some eBay affiliate links. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. Absolutely.
Well, very excited for this week's guest. This is someone that you and I met earlier in the year and have become very good friends with, I would say. Our guest this week is Jarrett Thomas, Senior Account Executive at iPullRank. He's been in digital marketing for nearly 10 years with experience at companies like Cannes Lions Festival, the Halo Group, Scribble Live, and Talkwalker. Currently, in addition to his work as an account executive, he hosts iPullRank's Rankable Podcast, which I actually had the honor of being a guest on back in June. He grew up in the Bronx and loves fishing and plays basketball and video games in his spare time. Additionally, he's a recording artist. He not only writes and performs his own raps, he writes songs for others. In 2014, he was part of a group that won an award for Best Underground Rap Group in the U.S. Welcome to the show, Jarrett Thomas.
Thank you for the intro, man. That's a lot to live up to, man. But thank you.
At this point with intros, I'm just happy I read them out loud very well. Not a skill that I have. But yeah, truly, thank you for being on the show, man. It's like we were saying earlier, we've gotten to know you over the last year, and it's been really cool. You're a good guy, so it's good knowing another good guy in the industry.
Yeah, I think we met probably at the very last in-person conference that most of us have been to this year. So that was quite a challenge, right?
That definitely was a challenge. Nobody saw what was coming in 3 weeks later. But I'm glad we had a blast. That was a great conference, man. We had some good time, man. What was the restaurant we was in the day before, man? That we had a good time in the barbecue spot.
Oh, Black's Barbecue.
Yeah. Oh man,
Terry Black's Barbecue. Yeah.
I was gonna say Terry Black's, not to be confused with Black's.
Yeah, that is an entire family endeavor. So you can't just say Black's Barbecue because people will go, which one?
And if I remember correctly, they all hate each other.
Really?
Perfect.
I believe so.
That makes sense.
So, Jarrett, for the listeners who are unfamiliar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys hit the nail on the head. So I've been in the industry for about 10 years, doing everything from SEO to SaaS platforms. I was a VP at an agency at 25. Just overall good sales dude. I've been doing that for quite some time. Had no clue that I was going to be in sales. Never said, hey, this is what I'm going to aspire to be. It just sales just kind of fell in my lap. And, some of the traits like, relationship building and just wanting more, man. Just always being a hustler in my life, man. And just wanting to strive for more got me to where I am. I'm a father of 2 kids. Shout out to Jameer and Case. Love you guys. And my beautiful wife, Jessie.
Not me.
Not Jessie.
Not me.
Yeah, man. But that's it, really, man. If I'm not, I feel like since the COVID's happened, man, all I've been doing is work. I have no time for extra curricular activities, man. If I get a 2K game, man, I'm doing good, man.
Nice.
Oh man, yeah. Someone made the point the other day at work that we basically, it went from working from home to basically living at work. Is what we do.
That's a great point. I love that.
For companies that are very fortunate to still be around right now and doing decent, this is perfect for them because employees, especially like on our side where it's very much there's a big group of people that are into the hustle culture, they're really benefiting from this, man.
Oh, man. Imagine.
And then really losing out on people like me and Keith that turn off at 5.
At 5.
But have you guys, I'm curious, have you guys been taking off since you've been in the pandemic? I might have taken off like maybe 2 days since March.
Man.
So
you're talking to the wrong guy.
Keith never takes off. Even before, he never took off. They usually at the end of the year, our manager has to force him to take days off.
It's true. It's true.
So that's just how Keith operates.
Keith, come on, man.
I had my paternity leave, came back, and then was like, well, I kind of feel bad. I've been off for 12 weeks. I don't really want to take much, so I've taken like a day or 2.
Yeah. And of course, we're getting sort of forced to take time off towards the holidays simply because the VP has discovered there's some issues with work-life balance, and so he's decided that we will need to do this or we'll drive ourselves crazy. And so
shout out a couple of free days, so it's kind of cool.
Shout out to them, man, for understanding.
Totally. It happens.
It sure beats disciplining us to get better work-life balance, and
yeah, that's true.
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Sometimes it feels like that happens, but not all the time. So when we started talking about having you on the show and started talking about, what exactly you do in your free time that you wanted to talk about, one of the first things that you listed out was fishing, which I think most people would say is probably one of the more relaxing pastimes that a person can have. So yeah, what's up with fishing? Like, why fishing? Why'd you get into fishing?
To be honest with you, man, I when I was young, my father's an excellent fisherman, so he's taught me everything I know about fishing. He would bring me to the piers. He would take me to City Island. We go on the boats, man. Every weekend, I went to go play basketball. He's like, Jarrett, you're coming with me. So as a young kid, man, I'm like, oh man, I didn't like it. But once you turn 18 and 21, man, and I could drink a cold one, and I could just sit there, and then once the pole goes, man, then now we're getting this exciting times, and that's what I love about it, man. To be honest with you, just being able to relax with my pops, man. That's what I love about it.
I dig it. That's awesome.
That's the best thing, man. I'm fortunate to have both parents still here, man. My pops is a big influence in my life. And just being able to just be real with him, man, just share some laughs. And, now I see my son. He's like, Dad, I want to play basketball. No, you're staying here. Listen to me and Granddad's talk.
That's fantastic. Now, I'm assuming you're not fishing on the Hudson side of the island there.
No, FDR. FDR, but they all connect and it's all nasty. I wouldn't advise eating it. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it's like, oh man, we usually catch stripers. I think the biggest I've caught is a 60-pound striped bass.
Whoa!
Wow.
I'll send you guys the picture, man. It's crazy. If you guys want to have it's crazy. 60-pounder, and we have to gaff it. It's like a 10-foot gap between the water and the ledge. So we have to gaff it, hold on somebody, making sure he's tied up to the rail, and then pull that thing up manually.
Oh, that's nuts, man.
It's crazy.
60 pounds.
Crazy.
60 pounds, man. That fish was massive. It took about 2-3 hours to pull in and about 4 beers.
The more beers you're having, the longer the time to reel in seems to be going. It's crazy.
It doesn't make sense. In my experience with fishing, the more beers you have, the bigger the fish get too, in fact.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that true?
Oh, absolutely.
So this was
in the whales.
This was in fact this was in fact a 20-pound fish, but it was 60 pounds after 4 beers, right?
Yeah, I might have lost 60 pounds bringing that. Oh man!
No light beers were consumed on that day.
No White Claws there. No.
I would love to see a human being roll up to go fishing with a ton of White Claws. I know a few dudes that would probably do that, and I'm super into it. I'm all about that. Everyone that fishes, make it happen. Move to White Claw.
I have not tried. My brother's trying to. My man Sean Fitzpatrick. He's trying to get me on the White Claws. We had I think it was the fight party or NBA Finals party. He brought about a 12-pack of White Claws. What the hell is this, man? Did your girl buy this for you? What are you doing?
Dude, okay. We have a coworker that's become a hard seltzer aficionado. Like, seriously. Tried them all. He has ratings for all of them. It's nuts. We would go golfing before pandemic started, and he would pull up with like a 15-pack of White Claws, and we would tear through them and just be tanked by the end of the probably 10th hole. So man. Front 9, you're toasted. Back 9, you're just gone.
You're gone. We're just there. Man, I haven't been golfing in so long, man. I would love to.
I'm watching the Masters currently on my TV back here, and am really envious of all these people out there golfing.
What's the best course you ever played at? Or
See, I'm new to golf. I started literally last December. Played for the very first time, and then that turned into go every week, multiple times a week to the driving range and maybe play a course here and there. There's actually one right next to my house that we went to a bunch. But by the time that the kiddo was born and pandemic was in full swing, golf wasn't happening. So now it's just a matter of my wife and I are sitting back like, okay, once this is good to go, we're getting back into this. Because she got into golf while she was pregnant.
Oh, really? Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, big time. Like, was at the driving range. We went and played a few rounds. Pregnant as hell. Like, just mega pregnant. I even asked our doctor, like, is this okay? And they're like, no, it's actually probably pretty good because you're getting that swinging motion.
Yeah.
So, and the kiddo likes to be swung like that, so.
That's crazy you said that, man. I think all my wifey had me doing it when she was pregnant, man. We're just going back and forth to the store, the weird food combinations at 1 o'clock. I'm like, what the?
See, my wife already likes weird food combinations, so that wasn't different for us. She played golf. She played a lot of golf. It was weird. We had an inverted weird pregnancy.
That's fantastic. Well, you never know. Your daughter might grow up and be a future LPGA tournament champion.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be great. See, everyone started pulling the, kid's going to be born. You know, you'll never golf again. Like, she can come with me. We'll see what happens.
I went with my mom to the golf course. I don't know how many times, and I haven't actually played these courses, but I have been on Pinehurst, Pine Needles, a bunch of the famous golf courses in North Carolina, and Myrtle Beach, for that matter. So, and it actually turns out that I have a decent golf swing.
You really do. So he came out with us a couple of times, and he didn't play, but he kind of just hung out with us. And every now and then it'd be like, "Here, Keith, give it a swing." It's not like we're a municipal court; they don't care anyway. Yeah. He ripped the hell out of that thing. It was awesome.
There you go, man.
Must be genetic.
Yeah, Keith's shooting bombs with his swing, man. It's great.
Yeah,
you gotta have a good swing for corporate, man. You never know. We gotta pull it out.
See, that's what we were trying to do.
You never know.
Our buddy that was in the office with us, he was a big golfer, so he went to a different company at the beginning of the pandemic, but was like, how can we get in some of these IBM golf tournaments? Like, surely they need someone at least somewhat decent to schmooze with people. So we never got anywhere. Pandemic happened.
Yeah. They said, we do, and don't call me Shirley. That's what they said.
So that, as we were speaking of this reminded me of something with fishing. So as I was mentioning, my wife and I both play golf together. Another thing that's somewhat unusual in a relationship, she actually really enjoys fishing, but in a very unconventional way. So I wanted to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
We used to live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, as mentioning earlier, and you and I have even talked about. And through that, we would go wade fishing out on the beach. And if you know anything about the Mississippi Gulf Coast, it's surrounded by barrier islands, so the water doesn't move back. So the water's just nasty as hell. Wow. So basically anything you catch, you probably don't want to keep anyway. So we just did it for fun. Because of that, we had two methods. I would use chicken livers as bait if I wasn't using lures because I wanted to stay active the whole time.
Yeah.
She used gummy worms and swears by them. What are your thoughts, sir?
I've never heard anybody use gummy worms, and I'm pretty sure she caught the monster, didn't she?
Usually she was the one catching stuff, for sure.
Oh, man. I've never used it. I've never tried it. I'm always the live earthworm dude. Yeah. I used to be terrified of those things. Pops at 6 years old, you better touch that damn thing and put it on there and showing me all of it, man. So that I'm used to that. What we use is bonker a lot too, because we go for bluefish and the stripers. So bonker's usually what we use. The worms. It all depends on what we're looking for. Like it's either those two fish. We do porgies. Blackfish is really big right now. Sea robins. That's good eating too, man. Sea robins are really good eating.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, man. But the gummies, I'm gonna try it this week. Try it next week or two, man. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna send you a picture, brother.
I was gonna say, shoot me a text because this is the great debate, and I mean, obviously, I'm throwing that out to some people back home who were like, "No, gummy worms not a thing." But obviously, these dudes go deep sea fishing, so.
I can't imagine the fish looking at the gummy worm going, well, that looks high in calories. I should eat that so I can bulk up.
It's like a normal lure, realistically.
True. Right? It is true.
Watching my sugar intake this month. I can't do that one.
Yeah. I mean, be considerate, get the sugar-free gummy worm. But you're catching 60-pounders. I don't think they give a shit.
I mean, if you're tossing them back, you don't want to negatively impact a diabetic fish. I mean, come on.
Yeah, totally. We have some class here, people.
Right?
Have a heart.
There's no need to be rude.
We used to do, and of course you're not supposed to eat these, and we didn't. Of course, we used to do these carp fishing tournaments, me and my father, and he would take this just obnoxiously bad smelling concoction that he made at home over the 2 weeks prior to this tournament. It included beer, some sort of bird feed, and some other sort of like weird things that he would let sit for the 2 weeks and just sort of ferment during that time. And then they would create these hard balls of dough that we would then put on the hooks, throw it into the carp lake, and the carp would just eat it up like crazy. And so I remember we used to go, and the tournaments would go from 8 p.m. at night until 8 in the morning. And of course everybody had tents, and, we'd throw our bait out into the water and, wait until the carp discovered them. And I remember we won 2 or 3 of these carp tournaments, and it wasn't anything to sneeze at. I mean, these were, of course, this is like the 80s, and it was $200 in winnings for these tournaments.
That's
so
not bad.
Take it, man, for a fun day, man. You can't beat that.
Well, fun night.
Fun night, right?
Not bad for making some fermented oatmeal to throw into.
It smelled so bad. I was like, Dad, I'm not putting that on the hook. You do it. I'm not touching it, because you'd open the barrel that it was in and just immediately just retch. Just so bad.
My buddy's grandfather, who's the one that took me out fishing for the first time. My dad wasn't a big fisher. He did some hunting as a kid, but it was just more of that's what his dad did. So he did it. He didn't particularly enjoy it. So that never became a thing in my life. So my friend's grandfather took me fishing for the first time, and he used to get hollowed out lures and stuff them with blood cheese. So gross. This is the nastiest crap ever. I stuck with the livers and worms sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Particularly noxious elements that somehow or another the fish are able to pick up on in the water. So
right.
I assume if they smell bad in the air, they must... whatever senses the fish use, it must sort of hit those quite well.
It smells like a T-bone steak down there, man.
Yeah.
Well,
especially with the water you're fishing in, it has to smell great comparatively.
Compared to who knows what's in there, man. It's crazy too. They spotted a whale over here in the Hudson too, like a year or two back. Did you guys see that?
Really?
With a humpback or something like that in the Hudson.
Wow.
She was like 60, 70 feet long. It was crazy.
That's nuts.
In the Hudson. So you see all the little cruise liners, all the I forgot what they're called, the ones by the Intrepid and all that stuff, the tour guides one. So they're sitting there passing this big whale, man, and it's just crazy. I'm like, couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
That's insane.
What I do want to do though, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I want to try gator hunting.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted. That's on my bucket list. I'm ready to go to Louisiana, go to New Orleans, and do that, man. I watch Swamp People all the time. That's like one of my favorite shows. I love that shit.
I know some folks, because, I mean, where I'm from is about an hour and a half from New Orleans. Yeah. I know some folks that do that.
Oh, yeah. I would love to try it. Just the fact that you have to hit the gator that nickel-sized spot, right? Like, I would be so scared to get it in the boat. That's the thing, right? How do you know it's dead and that thing start moving on you?
I don't know if I can hang with you, man. My God. You're going down a route I don't know if I can follow.
That sounds potentially terrifying is what that sounds like to me.
It is, man. I that's why I want to try it, just to say I did it just one time.
Dig it.
Indeed.
So, looking at time, I believe we are at our Tell Me Something Good segment.
Tell me something good.
Woo! Sir. Tell me something good.
Tell me something good.
Okay.
You gotta play that song.
We do.
That is our theme song.
We have beautiful. A modified version of it.
Yes.
There you go.
It's great.
Yes.
So, do you want to kick us off? What is your otaku recommendation for our listeners this week?
Yeah, so there's actually a good book that I was actually just get put on by Solomon Choice, CEO of 16 Handles. Shout out to him. He just sent me a book called Can't Hurt Me, which is Master Your Mind and Defy Your Odds. It's by David, name of this dude, David Goggins. So he's like a Navy SEALs guy. He basically shows you how to tap into your full potential. And he says like how people only use 40% of their capabilities and how to stay self-motivated and really just how did he get through that, the Navy SEALs training. As you guys know, that's the elite of the elite. And they push the body to certain limits, right? So he basically shows you how you can master your mind and push it to levels that you wouldn't have expected. So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I saw that speech that he gave, very, very inspiring speech that he gave about his background and where he came from and how he struggled growing up and finally found a way to sort of overcome his self in the SEALs. That sounds just incredible to me.
It's incredible, man. Like I say, I know people who've done that. Like I know people who are in the SEALs. Actually, one of my cousins, one of my best cousins, actually, he's in the SEALs. But like that's my thing. I would love to try to see where is my capacity, right? Where would I level off at? Would I be able to even get through the basic week training, right? We're our biggest enemies when it comes to stuff like that. Mentally, we'll defeat ourselves.
Indeed. Well, I will go ahead and answer the question for me. No, I would not survive.
No, I would not.
I would be ringing that bell in the first 30 minutes. Trust me.
I would cry and be discharged very fast.
Right, that's right. I'm a total wimp, even though I work out all the time. How about you, Jesse? What's your recommendation for the week?
So this week, I'm finally jumping off of my October Halloween spooky train. It's sad, spooky for life. And I was kind of thinking about kind of going back to a direction that I was going in when we first started this show, and kind of going back to my roots as an art major back in my college days. And one of those things, like we talked about in Kevin's episode, I was a photography minor. And through that, I found several photographers that I really follow and kind of was inspired by their style. And there's one in particular that I really enjoyed named Keith Carter. And he actually has a documentary called the Photographer Series Keith Carter by, what is it? Anthropy Arts. It's a fantastic documentary. It talks about his life, talks about, things outside of photography that inspire him, and basically goes into the kind of like how this podcast goes into what makes up the people that we respect and know in our industry and general circle, and talks about what kind of makes him and what inspires his direction. Because he's very much a almost, it's not photojournalism, but it's more abstract than that, but it's not necessarily full abstract, but there's definitely a level of ambiguity in his work. And he's just an awesome guy. He's from Beaumont, Texas. So he's one of those people that when you hear a good Southern boy, I would consider him a good Southern boy, because he's not a dick, but he's also kind of that like humble, really just kind of sweet, well-intentioned person. So yeah, that would be my pick. Definitely check his stuff out.
Definitely.
He recently put out a book by the University of Texas Press. It's published in Austin, so that kind of blew my mind after living here for a few years.
Nice.
You kind of just forget how close your heroes are, possibly. So yeah, that one's my pick. Definitely check it out if you're into photography or just cool stories of cool human beings.
Dig it.
So what about you, Keith?
I'm going to go back to my roots in the show, and I'm going to recommend a comic book series to you, everyone. So, I think, we're both going back to our roots today. I'm going to recommend Superman, Red Sun.
Oh my God, that was almost my pick this week.
Shit.
It's literally right here. I was looking at it earlier.
I am so glad I beat you to the punch on this, because this is such a good story. It's by Mark Miller, Dave Johnson, and Killian Plunkett. And it is the story of what would have happened had Superman's little spacecraft landed in the Ukraine instead of Kansas. And at the time, if he had landed when Stalin was in office over in Russia. So it is a really, really interesting what-if scenario for our all-American hero, Superman. What if he's not an all-American hero? What if he's an all-Russian hero? Or Soviet, actually. So it was in Ukraine. So what if he's an all-Soviet hero? So very interesting story. I highly recommend this. It is available in most comic book stores and on Amazon.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He's actually raised by Stalin in the book.
He is. Basically, he becomes he's the son of and the right-hand man of Joseph Stalin, which is just
so good,
terrifying
it's
to
so
think
good and
of that kind of power.
topically relevant right now.
Yeah, right.
It is. So hey, great recommendations, fellows. That was our Tell Me Something Good segment.
Tell me something good.
Yeah, I was going to recommend one more thing, man. It's actually a movie.
Okay, we'll give you a pass. Go for it.
The Impossible on Netflix.
The Impossible.
Yeah, so what that is about a story about a family who was going to the Philippines when they had the big tsunami.
Mm.
It is such a good story, man. And as a parent, I was thinking about this too. It's like, damn, they're at the resort, then the water just comes and wipes out the entire resort. And now they're like the whole movie, they're trying to find each other and what they did and the hospital trying to survive and all that good stuff, man. Like, what the hell would I do as a parent? You know what I mean? I think about stuff like that. Like, it's so real, man. You have to, if you watch that movie, man, it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, and that was such an insane tsunami too. I mean, like, of course, what we saw after the tsunami that affected the Fukushima reactor, of course, that was obviously televised, a lot of video on that. But then I think the very first instance that we saw of that was when that tsunami hit Southeast Asia and ran right through Phuket and just drowned so many people. It's such a terrifying thought. So
terrifying.
We'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, man. Really good, really well put together.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. Awesome.
Definitely worth the pass.
Definitely worth the pass. So I am particularly interested in another element of your personal life that motivates you and has obviously gotten you awards in the past. Your work as both a recording artist as well as a rap lyricist, writing for other people as well. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got started and where can our listeners hear you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started rapping when I was, 12, 13 years old. So there was two big things that I was big into when I was young. So basketball was my main thing, right? I had awards. I was heavily recruited going out of 8th grade. I was averaging like 25 points a game. I was like top 10 citywide. So that was one of my things. But then music, I was introduced to my brother. So he was in high school. He's 5 years older than me. He'd come in after school every single day with his 5-6 friends, and they'll be on the karaoke machine. And I was the young brother that was like, can I please, Mom? They won't let me play. Mom, I want to rap. And he would never let me, man. And then again, to a point where he finally did. And I was just like, man, they won't let me. They think I suck, man. I'm just going to keep writing. And then one day, man, they let me in. I'm like, I've got something for you guys. I spit a verse and they were like, yeah, just go record it. And then from there it was like, oh man, my brother thinks I'm good. And it was off to the races. I had two friends, Craig and Tyrone, who were my best friends, who also just started doing it. They were rapping together since they was in 2nd grade. And they were just one of those like, hey, Jarrett, you do it too, man. And let's create a group. And then we created a group called TNT for Thug-n-Thoro. That started in my freshman year. And we've been really blessed, man. We used to be just going battling everybody in the Bronx and other boroughs. We were really good at that. We were almost signed at an early age, about 15 or 16. but mom was not signing off on anything, and thank God she didn't. And just as we go old, as we got older, we're still in a group today, but family life, different responsibilities, work life, all that stuff. So I'm not, I have my own studio and stuff like that, but I just not. Right, I don't have the capacity to do it the way I want to right now, and that's the thing that really hurts, because that's something I love to do. I've been putting so much time into it. But in terms of where you can find me, man, you go on YouTube for TNT. There's a bunch of videos up there, got a couple of thousand views. You go to SoundCloud, and also probably in the new year, you'll be able to find us all DSPs like Tidal, Tidal, Apple, all that, Spotify, all that good stuff. What we had a problem was I had to get my business right. So me, I was just a rapper. I'm just like, I just got good music, good ideas. I never really thought about it from a business perspective. And now that I'm in business, it's like, whoa, we're not putting out this stuff. We're not going to be doing this. We need to own our beats. We need to have some distribution. We need to think about a marketing plan, a social plan, and how are we going to get an audience and all those things. And my friends are like, I just want to rap. So, you know what I mean? So I'm like, no, we're going to recalibrate. Let's do it over. And that's the only reason why it's not on DSPs right now. But it should definitely be up there before like Q1 of next year.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, of course, there's a couple of points from your story. I have to go back a little bit here.
Yeah, please.
You're telling me in basketball you were in the top 10 in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay, that's pretty impressive. But to the recording business side of things as well, it's an interesting time that we live in right now, because I'd probably say back in the 80s, maybe up into the mid 2000s, people would be signed, right? They would be signed to a record label. That record label would handle all of the business side of things. But now we're in a period of time in which there's so many independent artists out there that are basically having to not only write and record their wonderful music and material, but they're also having to figure out distribution channels, social media channels, all these other things. I'd be curious to know what sort of work needs to go into the business side of being a music recording artist.
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think you hit the nail on the head. All right. So back in the day, you'd go to a label for distribution, right? So you'd have, your writing credits, all that good stuff, but they would help you with the distribution and the marketing, making sure it's in the stores. They'd help you with the promo, the events, street teams, all that good stuff. But now with social media right now, you don't really necessarily need that, right? So that's what I think what you're seeing is an influx of people just saying, hey, I'm going to take the long route or go to long-term strategy, and I'm going to just build my audience. And I think for any artist that's listening right now, that's the main goal, right? You build your audience. Make sure you have an audience of, 10, 15,000 people, 20,000, whatever it is, right? That are loyal to your brand and know what the hell they want. Engage with them, hey, how did you like this song? How did you like this track? Come up with quizzes, surveys, keep them actively engaged, right? Those are going to be the people who are going to buy your t-shirts, your merchandise, your hats, your songs, right? All these type of things. So social right now is so pivotal. And as far as the business side, all you have to do is make sure that you have your copyrights, you have your distribution, your publishing, right? That could be from ASCAP or what's the other one? BMI or some of the other ones, right? And then distribution, you go to a platform like a DistroKid. So basically, you pay them a flat fee, and they make sure either to be Burr release or Burr album or whatever, and they put you on Spotify's titles. They put you in national markets, international markets, so on and so forth. And they also collect the money that you're supposed to be earning from your streaming. So really, if you have that, if you have those three components, you're publishing and you have your distribution, which would be DistroKid or some of the other sites like TuneCore. That's all you really need at this day and age. Wow.
Yeah, I remember early, in the music career, obviously album sales were the big driver in success, but now it's streams, right? It streams and plays on YouTube that a certain amount of those add up to an album sale. And it's probably not a 1-to-1 ratio, I imagine.
It's 1,300 plays equals one song, I believe.
Whoa.
It's like one album sale. Yeah, so it's crazy, right? So I have to have 1,300 people come and listen to a song for a certain period of time in order for it to be one stream. And which goes back to what is the value of a stream? You know what I mean? Like who set up these parameters? And I don't know if you guys follow like the Joe Buttons of the world and those type of people who are like, how do I get paid off my podcast? How do I do this? And, right? And those are great questions because who created this model as we see it today?
And it can be hacked. It can basically
Absolutely.
be manipulated in a way to favor people who probably aren't that talented, compared to someone who's probably a lot more talented, but just doesn't have the listener base that person has. It's a little unfair, I would say. I almost yearn for the days of the record label.
It's an interesting testament to how the music business did not handle general downloading and streaming well, because after the whole Napster debacle and all that jazz, then record deals went from being decently fair minus publishing, which most artists by the late 90s were starting to work out publishing deals because they got smart because of people like the Eagles who got screwed over and had to deal with that.
Exactly.
Then it turns into, well, you're going to make all the money off of ticket sales and merch. Then mid 2000s comes into play, and then the record labels start taking that too. Yeah. So there's a really interesting documentary by the band 30 Seconds to Mars. I think it's called This Is War. I can't remember. It's when they're making that album. And just side note, Jared Leto's a terrible human being, and his band has really gone off the rails, but their first two albums are really good. Anyway, it documents their entire, how they got screwed over by a multi-platinum album, didn't make a dime off of it, and how they had to just stay in a legal battle to stay alive. And that is why distribution deal is the way to go now. It's not the record deal, it's the distribution deal.
Yeah.
So stuff like DistroKid now has really changed that for independent artists. So it's awesome.
That's so scary though, man. Imagine being a household name and then still have this type of money and still being a regular person, man. Like that's the biggest part. How do you go to that regular lifestyle, but then, I'm seeing on TV, how do you go into the grocery store in your neighborhood? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, damn, I just saw you at the award show yesterday, and you're getting milk. What's up with that, man?
or worse yet, you're a stock boy at that.
Even worse, right? How do you get a regular job after that?
Right.
So I would love to know, for those type of people who may have gotten screwed over in those like publishing deals or early record deals, right? How the hell are you monetizing today? Are you utilizing your brand still to make merch and all this other stuff? How do you get some traction back on your brand, right? You don't want to be the stock boy.
It's publishing. Yeah. It's 100% getting publishing. One of my favorite bands in the world broke away about five to 10 years ago from their record label, got all their publishing back. And I know a couple of indies that have recently done that as well, just to get ahead of it. So then they own all of that. So once they start seeing that things are going to start moving, they have their publishing, they put that under their own record label and use another record label for distribution as a partnership. So then they're making the majority of the money and using the record label for the upfront costs.
Exactly. Brilliant. Own your masters. Your masters, people.
100%.
See what happened to the Beatles. Michael came in and scooped it up. You ever heard that story?
Oh my God, that's so messed up. Him and Paul were such good friends too, and then he screwed them over. You
heard the story though, how he did it?
Have you watched the video for Say Say Say?
No, I have not.
So go watch that out. Goofy song from the 80s. Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson. They kind of do a back and forth. It's a good song, but it's goofy as hell. On the set of that video is when Paul told him the way to make money is publishing. Yep. And Michael said, I'm going to own a Beatles song one day. And he laughed it off. And then Michael went and bought a ton of Beatles songs.
Crazy.
Wow. I think he bought Revolver.
No, he brought the whole catalog. He said, Paul said, what? He was like, how much would it be for my catalog? And Paul was like, hey, 30, 40 million. Mike goes back to his trailer, calls up his business partners, and then ends up paying $65 million for it. And then he comes back the next day on set and he tells Paul, and Paul's livid. He's like, how the hell can you do this? He's like, I threw in an extra $5 million. I thought that was reasonable. It was like such a boss move. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, you have to respect that, man. Like, you should have told the man the price. It's not for sale.
I think Paul just got them back within the last few years. And so that was the mid 80s, I believe. I think Say 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 was 83-ish. No, I could be wrong. But I mean, like within the last few years, he just got publishing back. Oof. That's so nuts. And Michael Jackson's been dead for like 10 years.
So he owned half of Sony, man. He had Beatles. He had, that catalog was worth, I think right now it's worth $2.2 billion.
That's so nuts, man.
2.2
billion.
Sony
owns so much. There's so many indie metal labels that they are a part of. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And you saw they just bought Crunchyroll, right?
Oh yeah, I did see that. It's nuts.
And they still don't have my PlayStation. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Any of the listeners, please hit me up on the chat if you know where to get a PS5. They're like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jingle All the Way. I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, what a deep cut. Oh my God, what a deep cut. Oh, that's so good. You've got to find your Turbo Man.
Sony PlayStation 5, not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor yet. Oh, so that's funny. I realized earlier, I was like, oh, what's my pick going to be this week? And it's like, I think I might actually pick a wine that I've been recommending to people. And it's like, we need to bring back the not a sponsor yet bit.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a while. Yeah,
we haven't picked a brand in a long time.
We haven't. We when we got crickets after saying Crunchyroll so many times, we stopped doing it. So,
sure,
Crunchyroll,
promote Crunchyroll.
That's right. Crunchyroll is apparently not listening to this podcast.
Right? So surprising. They are not one of the average 35 people that listen to this podcast.
30.
30?
Yeah,
you should have just gone with 35.
I should have left it, but my pride, I really want to get the authentic 35, not the 30 minus the 5 that are our podcast platforms. Got to be honest with yourself. You got to set your goals properly, right?
That's fair.
Man.
That's
so true.
We're up from the 14 that we started out with.
It's true. It is true.
Yeah.
It's a long road to hoe. It truly is.
I think the bigger play, like even the on show engagement, the live engagement is obviously good, and your tuned in listeners. But it's the afterwards, it's the clips and all that stuff. That's where you really get the bigger bang. Like nobody watches our podcast. It's like the same thing, 30 to 35 live if we're lucky. But then I get so many emails and DMs afterwards when I put a clip up on LinkedIn that it's like, oh, I actually went back and saw it and did this and all that. I'm like, oh damn it, I would love for you to come at 1:30 and ask a question. I would love it.
That's brilliant. We might start doing like Joe Rogan clips.
You have to.
It's true.
Oh, I got a good guy on Fiverr. Does it really cheap, really good.
The key is to say something controversial in that one spot, and then you can just use that one clip, and then everybody has to tune in, and in order to hear you go, just kidding,
right?
I should start like. Since I'm usually up early in the morning on Fridays listening to or watching the Mandalorian episode of the week, I should start really irritating people by giving spoilers out during this episode.
Oh, I'll kill you! I haven't watched the whole season 2 yet. This show will come to an end with me, at least, very quickly.
Welcome back to the show. It's your host, just Keith. Now,
yeah. I will very clearly state what happened there.
There's our controversy.
Yeah,
Jesse killed Keith.
Oh yeah, I know where you live, dude. I know where you live.
Oh man!
So, speaking of podcasts, yeah, you've got the video that you do on a weekly basis. Now you've been doing that for a few months now, right?
Yeah. So we started back in March. So it was the pandemic hit. So we had all this perfect equipment. I think Mike might have spent close to over $1,000 on all this equipment. We've got mics, we've got the Rodecaster Pro, and then that thing happened. So we're like, all right, what can we do? And then we end up using Crowdcast to host it, which is kind of similar to this. And then, they register for it. It's not the best platform, but it works for now until we get LinkedIn Live. But, we've had some great guests, man. And then this showed me how motivated I am to do the podcast, man. I do a majority of everything, man. I do the outreach, I do the questioning, I do the outlines and all that good stuff, man. I help marketing come up with the creative assets, and this shit is time consuming.
Yeah.
It's great though, man, because I think the best part of it is me learning from other people like yourselves. You know what I mean? Like I spoke to the CEO of 16 Handles. I was telling Jesse before we started. He off that conversation we had on the podcast, he hit me up afterwards, and he's willing to invest time to mentor me. So things like that, and he's a venture capitalist. He's somebody who has 40, 50 chains of a national brand, international brand, right, that I could learn from. Right. That's something I would have never gotten if I would just hit him with hey, brother, I do SEO. And you know what I mean? It would have never happened. It was just I didn't make the ads. I was just being a real person, man. And that's the stuff that I love. Having those relationships is the biggest driver, what keeps me motivated to do it. So I've had you guys on. Keith, I have to get you on. That's coming. It's coming. I have to get you on, brother. I've had Advanced Auto Parts. I've had Who else, man? We've had HFC, which is a big brand. We've had the Series Social, the head of Amazon Social Series, Ken Gibbs. I've got Rap Snack CEO coming on. We got the Big 12 sports marketing team coming on the week after next.
Nice. And you had a segment not too long ago with actual performing artists who are also marketers.
Yes.
And that was a fun episode, talking to people about like their, it's basically what our podcast is, which is talking about their side passions that these people are involved in. So that was a really fun episode to listen to.
Yes. Shout out to Jonathan and Gator from Nextiva, man. Good dudes. Love those dudes.
And you've actually got another recording artist right there at iPullRank as well. So
yeah, we've got a few, man. We got Mike and Nefakar. Nefakar actually just dropped the album on Spotify. Damn, I wish I had the link ready. I could have put it in the chat.
Oh, it's all right. You can send it later. Yeah,
all right,
totally.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good, though. She's an excellent singer, man. And I'm trying to get Mike, me and him are trying to get the bandwidth to come out with a project. Man, I could barely get on a call with him, man. It's hard.
It's interesting that there's such, obviously such really good quality people in this industry also have these wonderful side passions as well.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're trying to expose here in this podcast, is that you don't have to be 24/7. You can be a great SEO or digital marketer and be a recording artist, or be a complete total Star Wars nerd.
That's it, man. And I love the concept behind it. I put that on my bio on LinkedIn, man. I'm more than a sales quota. That's my tagline.
Totally.
I'm more than a quota, man. I'm more than a 200 to 300, 400,000, whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? I'm more than that. And I used to hate that. And that's one thing I give to shout out to Mike, man. Like the playing the game aspect. Right? When I first came in there, I was like, Mike, I'm tired of these goddamn quotas. I'm tired of not being myself, man.
Yeah.
I have ideas. I have things I want to execute, man. Just let me know what's up. I'm just tired of being in this one box and of just sales. I bring in this amount of money, and then it's like, all right, F off, Jarrett. What are you doing for me tomorrow? You know what I mean? It's like, you get tired of that, man. At 22, it's like, yeah, I got the energy. At 32, man, it's like,
I'm with you.
Support, man.
Yeah.
I am
that
with
is
you.
why I moved in-house, because I got tired of managing client relationships and shit.
I can imagine, man.
Yeah. And yet you are by all measures, a successful account executive.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. It's been a long way, but I took a lot of losses to get here. A lot of losses to get there, man. So like my first job in sales, like I was killing, I was crushing it. I was the top performer for 8 straight quarters. Then I was like, oh man, I'm shit. Let me move over to different things, because the CEO didn't know me, wouldn't say good morning to me, and I'm like, I'm keeping the lights on, brother. Like you have to walk past my desk to go to yours. Like, just say good morning, man. I got my coffee. I get you one. What's up? You know what I mean?
Right.
Nothing. We wouldn't even have a call, man. That he called when I quit, when I ended my papers in 2 weeks, man, he called my mom's house. I was actually recording at the time, doing music, and he spoke to my mom and was trying to get me back in. And I was just like, man, it's not you, it's me. I've got to go. I went to Cannes Lions, and then I ended up failing there, which was crazy. Which is crazy, and then bounced around a few different places. But it's so many different variables with that sales stuff, and it's really about your team and your support, man.
Totally.
It is. It really is.
So we've talked about the PS5 a little bit, and a little bit about the Nintendo Switch. So before we get to our lightning round, because I know you're a little bit of a gamer, just kind of wanted to talk to you about that. Other than your now constant quest for a PS5, what are you playing?
So my favorite is back to the basketball, NBA 2K. So I love 2K21. Last year I was almost made it to the professional league, man. I was 2 games away.
Wow.
2 games away. So for those who aren't familiar, you have to create your player, and then you go through these. You have your own 5, and you play against other 5s and other teams and things like that. And you have to have a certain record, a win percentage, in order to make it to the next round. Made it to the next round, and then you have to play with these random people to show your real true skill, and they just put you in random positions. And I was short by 2 games.
That's crazy,
and everything, man. But it was crazy. If I would have won that, I wouldn't have been able to work at IPR. I would have had to go and Phoenix or whatever team drafted me. It would have been crazy.
That's nuts,
wow.
man.
Yeah.
See, my first job as an SEO was built by a guy that was at one point a professional gamer. I think he was, oh God, it wasn't Call of Duty. It was something else. I can't remember what it was.
Legends game, the League of...
Oh, no, not that. It was an old PS2 game. I can't remember. Anyway, and it got to the point where then he moved on to like Gears of War, and got really close to being professional, but then realized that it wasn't a sustainable career. So he started seeing how different games pivoted in popularity, which meant that his game would eventually not be pro anymore, which I think Gears of War's kind of moved out of that territory. So he was like, I'm going to go into something more stable. I'm going to build a digital marketing company. So,
there you go.
So it's pretty funny. I didn't know that you had that near pro gamer side of you.
Yeah, man. And besides those games, man, I love GTAs. I love the Call of Duty, the Warzone. I'm just like one of those realistic gamers. Like I would love to get into like a Final Fantasy, but my imagination is not there unless I have a few beers or something like that. Like I love the GTA stuff, but I have to be on a few beers to get like Final Fantasy stuff. Right?
So you have a suspension of disbelief sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Maybe
relatable
even more than Keith does. Wow.
That's relatable. Yeah, to keep in mind, mine is mostly just the supernatural stuff that I have a hard time suspending disbelief on. So
Yeah, right.
That's so funny. Well, with that, gentlemen, looking at the clock, I believe we are at the lightning round.
Lightning round.
lightning round.
He's going to put in some editing work this week.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh, awesome. Well, this is our weekly segment in which we talk to each of our guests about 3 different questions, and we're just going to basically see how everybody responds to this. They're the same questions across the board, and like we said earlier, maybe we'll put together a compilation episode and talk about this and actually take the questions ourselves. So we'll get started with the questions. Jarrett?
Let's do it.
How do you think your hobbies have contributed to your success in your full-time work?
I think music helped me in terms of brand building, right? Because it's like music is the same thing, right? If I have a song, I have to get it into the right audience. I have to get more views. I have to get more visibility on it. And I have to know good content, right? So that's kind of similar to what it is in sales, and how that translates is like, hey, what I'm doing now, for those who aren't familiar, like I'm on LinkedIn heavy, right? So what I do is I haven't sent a cold call out all year. I'll tell you that right now. I barely send cold emails. Most of the business comes through me because I create the content. And how I use that is just like, all right, how do I create demand for my product? And my product is myself, right? Because if I break the sales barrier down, if you like me, man, chances are you're going to say, hey, man, when the time's right, you're going to ask for, you're going to keep Jarrett top of mind. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't make the ask. I just try to build the relationships. And thank God it's been working on in the short term, because it was a big gamble. I don't know how to say that to Mike. Like, I didn't make no cold calls, man. I didn't hit quota. I've got the punch. You know what I'm saying? But that's really what helped me, man. I think the music, just being creative, right? Trying to do something that other people aren't doing in terms of the sales regard, and just scale it from there, man. So that's a big thing. Creativity, staying focused and trying to do something that, separate myself from the other millions of salespeople out there.
And the fishing keeps you sane as well.
Fishing keeps me sane, brother. Fishing keeps me sane and keep me grounded, man. Between this, I don't turn off my computer about 7-8 o'clock at night every day, man. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
So, yeah, and it just happens to be like that because I'm on LinkedIn and, hey, do you want to talk at 6:30? I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess, yeah. Yeah. Even though it's me time, but okay. And I just do it, man. And it's always been working out. And the fishing, just to get some break away from the kids, the family, everything. Just
disconnect. Yeah,
disconnect.
Awesome.
You need that, man. We all do.
Awesome, excellent. Okay, if you could be one fictional character, who would it be?
This one, when we sent it, I'm like, damn, that's a great question. Who would I be, man? I don't want to give you the norm. I would say off the top of my head, I would say Hulk.
Ooh.
I would say Hulk, man, because I feel like I'm really Bruce Banner. I'm a Gemini.
Okay.
I'm the coolest guy in the world, right? But just don't pick me off. Don't disrespect, because I feel like I'm a super nice guy. I don't feel like I'm like, when I feel getting like picked on or, getting shitted on or something like that, I just like, I lose it. I turn into the green guy.
So it's interesting that you chose the Hulk portion of that personality rather than the Bruce Banner portion of that personality.
The same thing.
Yeah, that's awesome though. And not only are you the personality, but you're the body behind it that can actually do something about the thing that's pissing you off.
Exactly. I wish I could get brolic and but I can't. My way of doing it is just keeping it real, man. Just be honest.
Yeah. puny gods. Yeah, totally.
That was
totally
so good. Oh, that part was so good.
All right. Third question and final question. What other interests would you like to pursue if time wasn't a constraint?
If time wasn't a constraint, I would love to be the professional gamer, man. If I had the time, I would just love to see how I stack up against other people in the world. I would just love that, man. But I don't even have the time to do anything, man. If I turn on my PlayStation, man, I'll go to YouTube now. Nobody's on 2K and stuff like that. So I would love to do that. And I would love to learn Fortnite too. My son is a big player now. He's trying to be a international player in a few tournaments. I just can't get with it. I'm like, what the hell? You're fighting somebody, then you're building some things, and what's going on here? Like, I'm trying to keep up with it, man. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That game's crazy.
These kids. Man. These darn kids.
Damn kids.
These darn kids. I almost got away with it, too, if it wasn't for these damn kids.
Awesome. Great answers to the questions, and that was our lightning round.
So we have a couple of minutes right before I hit end, but, wanted to thank you for coming on the show, but something you just said just made me think of something that I've been meaning to bring up for a long time. Me and my wife have been joking about this. You said I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those damn kids. Wouldn't Scooby-Doo have been better if it had profanity? Think about it. Oh my God. Oh, those fucking kids. Would have been the greatest show in the world.
Why couldn't they do a remake of them all? They have the adult ones, but it's all right, it's still kind of cheesy a little bit.
Totally.
Have an Adult Swim version.
If you came up with an Adult Swim version of Scooby-Doo, I would be all over that.
And we could finally see Shaggy smoking the weed that we know he smokes.
You know he does it. Come on. You know he's a hippie, man. I love that. My boy Shag.
I mean, he wouldn't have nearly that many munchies if he wasn't on weed. So.
So with that, I just wanted to leave that final thought for the listeners out there. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
No,
absolutely.
Thank you, man. It's an honor. It's a pleasure, man. You guys are great dudes, man. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet you. And, once the COVID stuff is over, man, when I'm in Austin or you guys in New York City, I got beers, food, whatever you guys want, man. I'll take you out
totally,
with me, man.
All over that.
I would imagine once this is over and everything's safe, IBM will probably be shipping us to some sort of in-person function in New York again. So we'll see.
You tell me a restaurant, I'll be there, brother.
All right, man.
On me, man.
Awesome. This has been the Austin Otaku Podcast. To learn more about us and our show, to be a guest, or to subscribe to our show, go to www.austinotaku.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.